I've been making these YouTube videos for a pretty long time, in my opinion, and constantly, at least most of the time when I do my everything I watch videos, I always say The Boys is my favorite television show of all time. Say what you think about that statement. And yes, there is most likely bias to that, as this is one of the first shows that I've been attached to since its announcement back in that trailer in 2019, and I've followed it up since then. And from my time not really using social media to keep up with the behind the scenes, so thinking that this show was over in season 1 and season 2, to being hyped for a rollout of seeing characters like Soulja Boy and Firecracker getting announced, and to think that this show is over now, I am upset but also a bit happy to know that these band of characters that I have followed and grew up with have like a definite ending, and rather seeing them mock up with characters chasing nothing in future and future seasons. But I just wanted to talk about every season of The Boys, why I like them, when I think it's slowed down, and what I would love to see for the future of The Boys. So starting with season 1, and honestly, I'll be lying if I told you how many times I've watched this, but I definitely know this was probably my most watched season of a television ever. And one thing I did love about this season was the world building in this, and how well set up The Boys was as compared to future seasons. We see the superheroes around and interact with people, and just the mention of random soups in the verse, like they name Nubian Prince, who we see in The Boys Diabolical. Tech Knight also named in this season.
After all, Tech Knight saved me.
And also Gunpowder was introduced in season 1. Season starts with Homelander saving people, and we see fake saves too, with Starlight and The Deep. But yeah, I understand we can't keep doing that, because if we keep doing it, it's be kind of repetitive. And this show is not for that. And we technically still have them in future seasons when they add something to the plot, like A-Train saving Ryan, or the Ryan's fake save that shows he's gonna replace Homelander in season 4, I think. And those were a nice touch. But I also love how much they over-engineered this world of The Boys, because you see with Translucent, they explain why he's invulnerable. I know it pretty much goes for most soups now that all of them, they have insides that are easy to penetrate, but they explain why he's so tough to penetrate. Then all of a sudden we see Starlight's take a caliber round, but then in the next season we see the boys cut off Starlight's shoulder.
Will it get through my skin?
If it can't, nothing can.
I feel like the boys' power inconsistency has always been an issue. Starlight says she can blind you in this season, but we never see her blind anybody in any of the seasons. Closest thing we've seen is her disorienting to Homelander in season 5. And to jump to seasons, maybe that is why I was not that bothered with them, quote unquote, nerfing Homelander, because everybody's feet are up in the air here. I think the only consistent person is maybe Soulja Boy. And that was, I guess, till they knocked him out in the penultimate episode. And also the introduction of the boys and the Seven, starting with the boys, how these characters join up because of Translucent at the start, and then we see MM and Kimiko later, how there's already history between them, and that is explored more in season 2, especially with Mallory later being introduced and Raynor. They mentioned Mallory has like a soup file, which is weird that they never really brought up in any of the future seasons, but I just love the fact that that exists, and this world is something that has been existing. And we just see everything unravel, even though they don't really unpack most of this shit. And for the Seven and Homelander, I like the intrigue with the group. You try to take them seriously, but they don't really care about anything. And there's this different view to Homelander here compared to other seasons. We see at the start, he saves someone, and like he really cares about that. It's the first time that Starlight is with the Seven that I was talking about. He points out that they shouldn't be talking about all the money and numbers around her, that it's bad. It's a bad look on them. And yeah, he did bad stuff, don't get me wrong. He killed a kid, the whole Flight 37 thing. But it was never just for like shits and giggles, compared to him making someone disabled in season 2. And I found him and Butcher's rivalry interesting. And also when he noticed who Butcher was, when like Mesmer gave him that thing from the race, the Mesmer plot photos. And when he says sexually assaulted Becca, it was all pretty cool, but kind of like underwhelming showdown between them in this first season. But I understand it was building stuff for future seasons. But one thing I would admit I did not like about season 1 was Compound V, because I don't get how nobody but Vought knew about it, when they are secretly making parents sign NDAs and they know that they are injecting their kids with something. And I think it would have been better and even more messed up if they were secretly injecting people with that in the hospital, and they were just doing it out of random. But there's no way that thing was never leaked to anybody, or the government didn't know about it. Yeah, a few members did, but still came to a shock to Raynor when she found out, who was part of that anti-soup group. Just a massive plot hole I've had of this show since season 1. Also, they recast a lot from this season. Ryan is the most notable one. Also, Monique and Janine, that which was very, very weird to me. And a really minor one was them replacing Naguib, the soup terrorist. And it's kind of funny because Amazon tried to gaslight you that it's the same actor in the trivia in season 2, saying that, oh, he's back from season 1, and bro, it's a different guy. And Amazon, please bring that feature back. I know it's still there for season 5, but like you removed the actual trivia. You just put the actors' names, but I want the trivia everything back. It's cool to see it and everything. Like, it to make season 5 better to watch, like more fun to watch. Then season 2, I'm going to reiterate, this is my favorite season of The Boys because I feel like this is the one that had a bit of everything. But this is one of the seasons that I would argue didn't really even have a big action set piece. But maybe even season 1, you could say it did not have that. But what I love the most about it is probably the most consistent amount of tension compared to any other season. The first episode, we see Raynor die, man. Probably one of my most upsetting deaths because I liked her especially comparing her to Mallory early in the show. There's also the start of Annie and Hughie, how far they can have to go to try and see each other because of how popular the two of them are for completely different reasons. Her running with A-Train when she gets to Compound V, moments with Annie and Stormfront, Annie putting her neck out there this season. There's also the moment that I talked about where she cuts off the chip and goes with MM and Hughie. That part in this season scared me shitless, that I thought someone like Homelander or even A-Train would see them. Don't forget there's the head popping soup out there. Even at the end, as I mentioned, we see A-Train blitz to meet Annie and Hughie, which just speaks to how butt clenching this season was. Also one of the few times they actually send out a hit for the boys and we see them, Butcher in particular, trying to go head to head with Noir. Speaking of Noir, there's a scene that like he sleeps in this season, and I know this is not the version that's narcoleptic, but I think that was kind of funny because it's they mentioned that if Amazon brought back the trivia, they mentioned that the actor Nathan Mitchell is the one that is narcoleptic, and I thought that was funny. Ryan was also formally introduced after that imposter in season 1, but I love the theory that that's how Butcher saw him, a spitting image of Homelander. But we know that it's because they probably wanted somebody younger, and I love the build up with Ryan and Homelander's characters, and you see Homelander teasing him that he's more superior. I can't remember if that was before or after the whole thing with Kara, which makes it even worse from that point of view. But yeah, him trying to plant that in his mind that they're gods, and it comes to play towards the end of the show because he knows who Homelander is, and because of how good Becca was as a mother in season 2, you can see Ryan look at him weird and not really be interested in all of that. And I think that shows the parallels between these two characters, one having that mother figure that was a great mother and the other one being made in a lab or whatnot. Stormfront also having her ideology on both of them. But I also love that, I don't really love it, but I like that Stormfront's version was a bit more extreme too. No, I did like it for one scene because there's this part when she's like yapping to Ryan and Homelander that I'll just play the clip.
Us from this earth just because of the color of our skin.
Really?
It's called white genocide.
And I think that scene is just very funny because even Homelander's like, what the hell is this girl saying? And I think Stormfront was an amazing antagonist. She was there to show Homelander how to get people to be on his side with hatred and just, not fear, but like just hate, And it trickled down to the future seasons. And I love the one intro in episode 6 that shows how they're just these people out there fueled by what they see online and they don't really think outside of that. There's so much I love about this season and I could talk about it forever, but I'm just going to do my what's fascinating and I liked in the season. The inclusion of the Church of the Collective, probably the most favorite B plot of the season ever. You really homed in on the Deep being a loser, and when A-Train joined as well, that was also very funny. And I don't really know what this is parodying exactly, whether it's some cult or Scientology. I thought it was fun to explore. And there's also that bit where like they're talking about the Archer guy and how he cannot be trusted. That was very funny.
He's like a brother to me.
He's a toxic personality and no church members are to have any contact with him whatsoever.
Right.
Homelander also great as ever. Liked when he was watching Taxi Driver and he's pretty much telling his character that he sees himself in that. And the ending with the head popping was funny, seeing the different reactions like from the Deep and even the next episode after that, because that whole whistleblower thing was their big plan, and after it failed they just had to throw in the kitchen sink. And that moment that you see what's her name again, Kamiko holding the rocket launcher was just so funny. Also the boys meeting Becca for the first time, Butcher's humanity and the way they treat her was so cute. We also see Ashley's hair thing start from here. Kimiko and Frenchie too, their romance properly starts here, but very dumb of him to try and make his move on her after her brother just died. Ending was also my favorite here, and I think that's one of the things I commend about this season and one of the reasons why I love this season, because I think although we know that there's going to be more story to tell, if this show got cancelled or whatever and ended here, it wouldn't have been terrible in my opinion. Everybody had like technically their happy ending, maybe outside of Butcher, but even Homelander, they somewhat subdued him with the whole Flight 37 thing. It was a pretty solid way to end the show, but at the same time, I'm happy that we got more seasons. But flowers for its conclusion on here. And for season 3, release the Bourne cut. And the thing I love about season 3 is that they took season 2 and rode it to 1 million, and we get our first actual fight sequences here. In fact, amazing moments showcasing superheroes' powers in action. And I think that's why the general consensus has this as their favorite season, because it becomes more of that superhero show here. And hell, of course I love it. It's top 2 for me, and I think it's one of the easiest and best seasons to rewatch. Not even because of the action, but there's so much small attention to details in the season that multiple watches you notice something new. Like I just noticed that Stan Edgar is looking at Homelander here. I know people probably noticed this earlier, but me, I just noticed that as he's giving the talk to Stormfront. And even in the flashback sequence, you see Mallory eavesdrop on Stan Edgar and Noir's conversation. But did she know that Noir had that nut allergy? Did she put that in the files of the soups that we talked about in season 1? Another thing that I love about this season was Homelander, probably the lowest we have seen him in the show ever. He has no power, no control, and that power and stardom on that level being taken completely by Starlight. So of course you hate her. Of course you hate her followers in those future seasons. And he's constantly being pushed back in the season by Starlight, by Edgar, by Vought. He loses the 7 for like an episode here with him being co-captain with Starlight, and then he finally snaps with that on that day of his birthday, even before the speech when he tells that girl to jump off. And we see the start of Homelander that understands that people will love him. Okay, may love him no matter what. And he also goes really unhinged this season, and he does stuff that he would not really do in season 1 and season 2. Don't get me wrong, I've already mentioned that he does bad things in those seasons, but he threatens Huey and Starlight. We see what he did to Maeve, wanting to harvest our eggs too.
But I am going to harvest your eggs.
This is probably the most evil that we have gotten Homelander as. He pretzels Shockwave, and as he gets control back of the 7, he also kicks Stan Edgar out of it. And at that point, you think like, okay, he's going to be unstoppable. He's going to like take over and everything. The threat of Soulja Boy comes out.
Oh God, if the company falls, I fall. Oh fuck. Oh God, why is this happening to me?
And it scares him. And on Soulja Boy, probably the best introduced character on the show ever. Love when we see Homelander and Noir notice he's alive, they both freak out. Especially Noir. The fact that the ounce of emotion we got from Noir was because Soulja Boy was still alive. And Vale, that guy completely ruined his life and tortured him and made him the way he is. And I love the whole backstory bit too. But I feel the show never really explicitly made Soulja Boy evil though. Like, he does do bad stuff. What he did to MM's grandfather with the car, the whole payback thing, the fact that they hated him. Yeah, valid. Gunpowder was on the rope. He treated Noir badly, took the whole Rush Hour role from him. But after the whole Russian thing, he didn't really do anything bad. The New York thing, he couldn't really control it, so I gave him the benefit there. And I love the scene when he tells you that he's not really a bad guy.
I didn't mean to hurt those people. I'm not a bad guy.
And in season 5 with Quinn, I don't really remember, to be honest, but he also didn't kill Bombsight. And I know, yeah, he's probably going to be a dick in Fort Rising, but Loki wanted to see this misunderstood side from him and how he has changed as a person. But yeah, I'm just going to blitz through stuff that I did like in this season as well. I thought this was one of the best moments we got of Frenchie ever. We have so many quotes from him, like, he's trying to get in my ass.
He's trying to get in my ass! Get him out!
Que c'est hamburger with a donut for a bun? Surely there is no gut here.
And also his relationship with Kamiko was better on here, probably the best we have seen. We see when she tries to kiss him for the first time, and I feel like the whole Lilo Nina thing, I did not like. It diminishes so much from this season for me. We finally see recasted Monique and her daughter, and knowing it's Bob Howard from Fallout, I wish there was more scenes for her to do, but she was also good in season 3 and 4. Stan Edgar was also his best here. He got way more to do with limitless episodes, and I love that. The cool presence he brought to this character, and surprisingly for me, he's in every season of The Boys. I always forget that he was in season 1. Also, Payback as the group, I thought that was cool. They didn't really do much for the TNT twins, but the fact that we've seen different types of sidekicks across the show. We had Mesmer, who was probably the weakest. We had Mindstorm, and also didn't show crazy feats, but Kate, to be fair, had the most seasons to do stuff in Gen V, probably the strongest from the bunch. But also the guy from season 5, Synapse, he definitely felt like he was one of the more powerful ones, but I don't get how they made him so powerful in that episode, but also made him so not powerful in that episode. But season 5 was solid, and I didn't even talk about 10V and Huey being the leader of the anti-sub squad. Even Newman there too. This season is so packed, and I really understand why it's highly rated, but for me it's just still my number 2, and I know that's an unpopular opinion. Then season 4, this has to be my weakest by a landslide since its release, and I do have a video of me talking about it, but it sort of pisses me off even more because I didn't like that this season felt like a retread for a lot of season 1 and season 1 to season 3, with no real sense of direction. Like, stuff happens, but nothing really major happens for the most of it. And you can say the same for season 5 too, and it annoys me more now for both seasons because I would have appreciated season 4 if he had set up a banger and all-timer for that season finale, but it was just an okay quality across both seasons. I mentioned that I love the addition of the new characters like Sister Sage, but I have to admit, I have to put my hands up here. They made her worse and worse across episodes since 4 to 5. Homelander here was the shining light. He's the reason why I would say, okay, there are other reasons, but he's probably the reason why I would say season 4 is somewhat good, because he is further encapsulated why Anthony Starr is the GOAT. And it's a bit crazy that he's not gotten nothing for his portrayal of his character, but I suspect that's why season 5 came out earlier than other seasons, because they're trying to target that Emmy Award season. But as good as he is this season, this was the start of that trend that they made him more incompetent, because season 1 to season 3, we see Homelander at the forefront taking care of stuff. Yes, he may send his occasional The Deep or something, but usually he still shows up, but he is just absent for an entire episode. And then you hear what happens at the episode at the end, like the moment at Tech Nights. He knew A-Train and Tech Nights were missing. I understand something important is happening at that moment, but at least show him trying to go check what's going on, be sure everything's okay. And that was kind of weird for his character, especially being uninfluential for the most part. But there are things I did like Huey and his dad. I think that was interesting, especially with them exploring Compound. And it is seen in The Boys Diabolical how Compound V can affect people that have cancer, for example, and how it can make you have super cancer. It can also work on your illness or whatever you have and give you a super disease and make you unstable, like obviously the case here. And we don't really see that much with Butcher, but at the same time too, Butcher is low-key a zombie, and he does have an unstable mind with the whole Kessler thing. But yeah, that would be my next thing. The fact that Huey's dad was still alive and he mentally screwed up explains why Butcher was okay in season 5, but I don't know about why he was a-okay after the Kamiko blast. But yeah, Kessler, I hated that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was just a ghost. Like, I like the fact that he interacted with Huey in season 5, but man, I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and I wanted to see him in this world of The Boys. I feel like he's a perfect character, perfect actor to play a character in this world, and I kind of feel like they didn't really know what to do with Starlight. Don't get me wrong, I think she's better here, and they add stuff for her to overcome and do like the whole thing with Firecracker. But it kind of shows, especially in season 5. MM's situation was good here. I think this is one of the best we have got in MM. But that makes my point in season 5 and make me hate season 5 a bit more, because I did talk about how he overcomes stuff like that, his suicidal mentality off camera. And I was kind of upset that we got that off camera, especially from when he had OCD in previous seasons. And here he's having the panic attack. And then in season 5, he's just fine again. And I cannot lie, you're making it look like it's a color thing.
What's going on here? Is it a color thing?
Because what are they doing to my boy? We keep going over the same thing with all these other characters, but you cannot do and settle my character properly on screen. Like the moments with the Crow Girl, but we see him evil at the start of season 5, then he's good with that Crow Girl later in season 5, then he's good again. I briefly talked about it in my season 5 review, and it's just annoying what they did to his character. It was just poorly structured for him. And I've already briefly talked about them repeating storylines for these characters, and they did the same with Frenchie, man. What a waste with the whole Collins thing. We've already seen this with Little Nina, but they just expanded on that again. And we've already seen him regret people with Mallory's kids dying. Why are we doing this again? And it's probably the most uninteresting way they could have done about it, because they could have explored the Kamiko and Frenchie relationship here. And I mentioned in my season 5 review that thing being done in season 5 was way too little, way too late. But I do love that we finally get Kamiko's backstory, and man, it's really upsetting what she went through, and I'm happy we finally got that for her, because it made her character, especially in season 5, a bit better, and adds up to her not trying to be fueled by her rage, and that's not where her power comes from. I like Noir in this season, and I know it's a bit contradictory from my season review, but it's also just more of that he didn't really add anything. But I think he is a fun character, and just wish that they add more meaning to his character rather than just re-bringing a new Noir and doing nothing with it, because we already have joke characters in The Deep and also Firecracker being introduced. Why are they adding another one? And also RIP Annika, man. I think she was good from all the seasons that she was in. I don't know if she was in season 2, but man, I really love her, and it's sad that she died. And one thing I really love about this season is that from the start to the end, it's just them trying to basically kill Newman. And I also hate the way that she does die, because I like the fact that she's turning and she's like, oh, I think I can switch on, be on your side, and then bam, she dies. I don't really like that. But at the same time, I understand why they did it, to show that Butcher is evil, and they didn't really step on that in season 5, in my opinion. And I've given season 5 time to marinate, and I have to say season 5 of The Boys is just good. It's not a masterpiece, it's not an all-timer that I wanted, but it's okay. If I was to rate every season 1 in my opinion would be an 8.5, season 2 would be a 9.4, and season 3 would be a 9.3, with season 4 being a 7, and maybe I'll give season 5 a 7.5. But I'm still going to stand on my horse and defend this season, because I definitely think that it's being overhated. And yes, I would admit they're redoing a lot with the character relationships and everything that we've seen already in previous seasons, like Starlight and Huey. They're just trying to re-engineer something wrong between them, whereas they're probably perfect, in terms of their relationship. We see that being fixed in the last episode of season 4. So why are they trying to create fake conflict? And then someone like MM does not really get anything at all, which is kind of disappointing, especially if you look at the little and major things that they could have done. Like he mentions that I'm going to kill you, Stanhead,
And has to put a bullet in your fucking skull.
And then he doesn't really do that. He doesn't even look like he's going to do that. Maybe they'll do that for the spin-offs, but it's just a bit upsetting that for something that is the season finale for these characters. I understand it is the finale for like a Butcher and a Homelander, but I'll also put the boys, because it's called the boys at the end of the day. So I want each and every one of their stories to be over here. And maybe, yes, you can explore it in future seasons or future spin-offs, but it's kind of a disservice to us, the fans, that you say that you're going to end it, but you're not really ending it for them. And even if you do not make him end it, which is even more annoying, because it comes to that thing that he says in season 3.
Why do I always have to take the high road?
Because I know that's what you're trying to probably go for him. Him being that obedient black guy that turns you over chick. And fuck that, man.
Fuck the high road.
And yeah, Kimiko being able to talk kind of helped her and Frenchie's relationship. But at the same time too, I think could have been done with her still being silent. But I'm happy that she can talk now. I like the fact that Karen Fukuhara finally plays a character that can talk. But yeah, this could have been done last season, I'm not gonna lie. Butcher is kind of the same thing we've seen up to this point. But at the same time, we didn't really also spend too much time with the boys, because technically their arcs were all done. The only person I would argue that deserve to continue or like have something being done is Kimiko, Frenchie, and MM. And we kind of do that with Kimiko and Frenchie, but we don't do that for MM. But I'm done talking about that. But that was all expected, because season 4 was that setup for season 5. But then they make season 5 promo for Vault Rising instead of it being straightforward to just trying to conclude these stories for these characters. But to defend this season, man, I'm going to start with some of the things that I've seen online causing me to make me break my head. The first thing is the powers, action and powers. This is not a traditional superhero show. I've already mentioned this, that in season 1 and season 2 we barely get anything. Even maybe season 2 finale, you could argue that when they beat up Stormfront, they're like, it's an action set piece, but they're just ganging up to beat her like any other person. And that was the best we had gotten up to that point. So that kind of tells you what the show kind of was before. And I understand in season 3, with the increase of action scenes, they did set that expectation and bar high up. But in my own opinion, hating this season for not being constant action is kind of dumb. And another thing I'm hearing about people getting mad about is the power scaling. How can't Homelander leave the place fast when he caught up with A-Train, or he took that guy to the moon in like 2 seconds? I don't know. The show is just inconsistent with that. And yes, rightfully so, bash it for that. But the fact that you're making this whole power scaling thing an issue for season 5 and not an issue for the entire show, that's what I'm annoyed about. Starlight Power has consistently been inconsistent. I already mentioned this. She can make people blind in episode 1, and she does not even do any of that till season 5. We see her in season 2 that she could burn Huey, but we've never seen her burn anybody. Yes, you could argue that Starlight is not that kind of person. Then we move on to someone like the Deep. In season 2 of the show, he falls off from the back of a whale or something, and he gets unconscious for like a good amount of time. But then he tanks punches from A-Train and Starlight in later episodes or seasons of the show. Original Black Noir has taken everything in this earth, from being beaten up by a Butcher's crowbar to being exploded to being nuked, but then he gets his brain toasted by a burning car apparently. Not to mention Steve's durability in general. I love how they gave logic to translucent. I've already talked about this, how it's like his skin is made out of carbon or diamond or whatever, and how that applied to him in that moment. But then we see Starlight being impervious to bullets in the same season 1. That always confused me, but I gave them the benefit that, okay, all soups are invulnerable or whatnot. Then we see Butcher just beat up Mesmer with his bare hands. Stormfront takes Homelander's laser like no diff. Maybe yes, you can argue that he's holding back, but then Ryan does the same thing to her and she just gets blitzed. But the one thing that really does it for me is the Russian tapes. We see Soldier Boy is like impervious to anything. You can put bullets in his mouth, nothing will happen to him. They also say that Homelander is a bit of Soldier Boy but more powerful. Maeve puts a metal straw in his ear and he bleeds. And for that final fight in the Oval Office, people saying it took more people in season 3 to hold off Homelander. In that same season 3, he struggles with Queen Maeve. I'm not saying Maeve would have killed him, but I'm just showing that like Homelander power has been massively inconsistent across all seasons. And me personally, since season 1, I've tried to never really take the power scaling seriously in this season because it itself has never taken it seriously. So I've just learned to just enjoy it for what it is. But I would admit, Kimiko gets in Soldier Boy's power blast came out of absolutely nowhere. Maybe they could have gotten Soldier Boy again after Homelander betrayed him, but after this season with him just flip-flopping his mind like that, I get them not wanting to do that, and maybe it's not what Clara wanted. And another thing I see is that why didn't Homelander go full berserk from season 1 to season whatever exactly? We see him in the tip. Season 1, remove the foundation.
They're just people. But they snap their fingers and we jump. Why?
In season 2, we see him learn how to use people's anger to rise or whatever. Season 3, he gets power of Vault. Season 4, he gets power of the world. And you can say that about season 5 too. So why don't we see, after the whole God thing, why doesn't Homelander just want to go kill people? And I feel like this is something that they have already said. Homelander wants to be loved. That's the entire point. And Homelander is not a fool. He's not stupid. He knows that he doesn't, I don't say he knows that, but people fearing him is not really what he wants. He gets completely annoyed this season because people just absolutely fear him. He wants people to love him. We saw that in season 4 when he was talking with himself.
I want them to love me. Yahtzee!
That is his whole shtick. Even in that part that they always bring up when in season 3 where this girl was going to release the Flight 37 and he said that, oh, I'm going to destroy everything. They removed that part that Homelander is literally like, I would prefer to be loved, but being hated is not a bad thing too.
See, Starlight, I'd prefer to be loved. But if you take that away from me, being feared is A1 okie doke by me.
But at this point, we never see him fully get hated by anybody. We literally see with Starlight and her brother that people are out there that just blindly love this guy, especially with Todd in season 3 and season 4. But we also see that people are not buying into his whole God bullshit. And I think it's well written. I know it's a bit crazy to say that it's at that breaking point, that part that he's about to go berserk and threaten everybody to see him as God and be everything. That's the part that the heroes save the day. Because as edgy as the boys is, just seeing Homelander kill a bunch of people at once for quite literally nothing might not be the best thing ever. But at the same time too, I hear the frustration. I would have loved to see him kill a bunch of people too, and people be completely scared of him. But at the same time, I do not really care too much that we did not see it, because I feel like it was written well enough that it did not have to reach that level. And for the whole Gen V thing, I completely disagree. Yes, I'm upset I didn't see them. I would have loved to have seen Marie interact with the whole characters of the boys. But at the same time, Gen V is a spin-off, and either show has been made for you without having to watch the other. Like more of the boys on the Gen V side, in fairness. But yeah, Marie, as I said, would have been nice to see. But the things I would put my hands up and agree on is the fact that we should have either gotten them fully or not gotten them at all. The fact that they were doing this whole, we'll give you guys 2 minutes of screen on time was dumb in my opinion. The fact that Marie couldn't control her powers was dumb in my opinion, because they did show that in the end of Gen V, she could completely control her powers, especially when she killed Godolkin. And I have my reservations with season 2 of Gen V. I think that season is completely horrible. And I do think if they had made her not being able to control her powers in the end of that season, that would have been good. But the fact that we have already seen her control her powers in that season, and they're now mentioning that, oh, she can't, that's a bit dumb. I would put my hands up for that. But in my opinion, I'm on the fence that I did not really want to see the Gen V guys have too much to do, especially towards the end, because they made Marie completely broken. They made her Homelander level powerful, as they said in Gen V. And I feel like that kind of takes away from the show, because I don't really want her to be in the fight with Homelander. It's not her fight. I understand, yes, you can make her like an accessory in that fight, but at that point, what's the point of even bringing her in the fight in the first place? So I am completely behind them sidelining her, but at the same time, it does not really make sense. I understand that. And yeah, on Gen V, I'm going to talk about Gen V too, because I hate seeing these comparisons that Gen V is better than the boys. It just isn't. I am a Gen V defender. You can watch my first review on Gen V season 1, but the boys is so much clearer, from performances to budget. That just allows it to look and feel better. Season 1 is watchable, but the rewatch just makes it feel like the season doesn't really go anywhere. And the whole final episode, in my opinion, is a huge mess. I don't get why Homelander tries to kill Marie at the end. This is a Homelander that at the end of season 4, or season 3? Season 4, I can't remember. This is a Homelander that is wanted for murder, by the way. And season 2, you notice how I don't have a video on that? That's because the season is horrible. There are definitely some interesting parts about this season, like Ellen Slater makes an amazing villain, but the story is just all over the place in my opinion. It does such a terrible job for our characters. They give Marie this power to bring back people from the dead, and I feel like that's where the problem just lies for me. You're making her so powerful. You're making the world have no stakes anymore. We hype up this huge Godolkin character, and then in the final episode, or the final 2 episodes, I can't remember when it happens, you quickly show his plan, he puts it to motion, and then you kill him off. Man, I'm just not a fan of Gen V season 2, and the way it ends, I just cannot take it seriously. And by the way, I really love season 1. It's not amazing, but it was fun. And then they dropped the ball with season 2, giving them nothing for the future seasons, making me unsurprised as to why it got cancelled. Just more surprised that they did nothing for them in season 5 of The Boys. But at the same time, I don't think Aaron Kripke was involved too much with Gen V at all, because the story decisions there are so weird and it doesn't really align with the story of The Boys. So I feel like it was made by 2 completely different creative teams. But yeah, I really do love The Boys, and I'm happy it's over as a result, but I'm just a bit pissed that it did not end with the same quality that it started. And as for the future of The Boys, I was hoping for a prequel, for more of, let's say, the boys team as a whole, like them pre-Huey, them with Raynor and Mallory taking on Supes, something we did get in the middle of season 2 and season 3, with them taking out Supes for the Federal Bureau of Super Affairs. Because what I loved the most about the boys was season 1, them trying to take down Translucent. Season 2, them trying to take out Noir and Stormfront. Yes, they both failed in those instances, but that was cool to see. Same with season 3 with Soldier Boy and Homelander, also with season 5 too, and also Newman in season 4. But we only got that ever, like that feeling ever with Translucent. And also maybe you can add the boys Diabolical with the Flying Wonder. But yeah, Amazon, Eric, if you're watching this video, that's my one wish. I want to see those Mallory files, release them. It's what Clara would have wanted. Thank you for watching this video, and hopefully I see you in the next one. Peace.
Okay, this is insane.